Hello, folks, and welcome to the broadcast. Sorry, got a bit distracted there. Hey there, Dana. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are heading into a coding stream. And like I said, I got distracted. I'm trying to change the collision logic so that we can not spend almost a fifth of a second each frame on physics processing for monster movement. Because that's a problem. Before I show you what I'm looking at right now, let's check in with the kitties. We do have 3 of them visible right now. We have Sky up in his favorite spot, up in that tree. We have Ember in her favorite spot. Bath time, apparently. Sammy is snoozing over on the shelf. And the 2 brothers are not currently visible, but I feel Sherbet has leapt up on my headrest. Hey, there's Squinnick. Welcome back. Sherbet has got my head tilted here. So what we are doing today is we are attempting get alternate collision logic in there. Hey there, Drew. And sadly, it not working. Because these are not being properly populated. This is problem. Because in theory, I should be able to do on ready for each of these, but I can't. Dana, you are over there in the widescreen format. Drew and Squinnick are in the tall format stream. So you're the only one over in widescreen format, but Drew and Squinnick are in the other one. So what's happening is that when I try to operate on it, this sprite is null. If I look at this scene, the body has these set appropriately. But why it not work? Let's try something else here. I'm working from a general pattern that I looked up, where what we'll be doing is collision avoidance using a couple of ray casts instead of having the hard physics bounds. The current working project name, Dana, is Nyanite Survivors. Survivors largely because that's kind of the trope in the genre. I don't know if that will actually be the name, but that's what we're using as the project name. So we should be able to do this. And right. Oh, fat fingers. Raycasts. Hello there, Drogo. So this should work. The raycast is inherited from the main mob body, and sprite and body are the ones that are relevant to the main one. But when we launch it, it immediately fails on this. If I remove that line, it's going to fail again later. It's failing because the sprite is not getting set. But that doesn't make sense. Doing well, Drogo, doing well. Largely droid would be more appropriate, since Andro or Gyno is not really applicable. For those that aren't aware, the android is technically gendered. Or at least it was way back then. More accurately, since languages do evolve, android is largely used generically. But droid removes that prefix that originates as a male-female differentiator. Okay, so it's not finding these. We know they're there, but it's not being instantiated yet, which is weird. Good point. Dana, you're still, well, the widescreen format doesn't get as much traffic. Okay, so we look at mob body. Go here, and we're also going to go here. We're going to put a ready the pass on this too. Okay. This is getting called right away. Hey there, Heinz fan. Welcome, welcome. Things are going, technically well. We're making some progress. We're working on our game, fan. We're trying to get by a little bit of a bug. I figured out what I was doing wrong as far as scene inheritance. It will require a non-trivial amount of refactoring, but we're getting there. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to get past this issue here. And part of this, I think, is in defining this concept by doing this right here. Here, let's try that. So. No, it's still hitting that. It's a Survivor style game, fan. So if you've seen Vampire Survivors, Deep Rock Survivors, pretty much anything suffixed with survivors these days is the genre that we're talking about. Character in the middle, spray bullets everywhere, dodge the monsters or kill them. No worries, Drew. We're trying to get back to that, but problem being, this line is actually failing. So let me jump to the originating line here. Well, this should be the originating line. So we should get to this. Let's verify. Yeah. Okay, so we're about to instantiate it. And then we jump over that, and it blows up here. So as soon as the object comes into existence, this happens because this value is being set. This is a problem. Because if it is as soon as it exists, this is set. Sprite doesn't exist yet. So let's try killing this line. Yep. Okay. Body. Body is null now. I missed somebody? It would seem not. I mean, I could attempt to. Let me run a check. I think that's one it will recognize. It is not a word I recognize, or it is in a language that I don't recognize there, Dina. So I generally avoid saying that. Okay. Okay. Let me scroll back up and see what you originally asked there, and Fan, this is we're working on a game that has started to become a bullet heaven, where instead of the classic bullet hell, where enemies are firing waves of projectiles at you, the player does, and the gimmick for it is generally dodging monsters and trying to wipe them out as fast as we can. Okay, so now the body doesn't exist. Is that possible? As the process comes in. So what if we move this back down where it originally was, just above position modification. that in the wrong spot. I did. So instead of right away, that doesn't make sense. I don't see your email in chat there, Dana. It does not appear to be listed in the chat log. Yeah, I see you saying that oops and please don't copy that. But I don't see any indication that you did anything else. Well, that's part of the thing, Rune, as far as tall format streaming, is it shows up in Shorts feed. Put it down here. We add it in, we add it back. A pleasant surprise, I hope. It's not clear why you would. I'm not seeing anything like a number there, fan. Okay, so we instantiate it. Set the modulate. Okay, let's look at the mob body. Okay, it has nothing set. This is not right. Okay, currently an orphaned object. So the movement modifiers hit that. Okay. As soon as it gets to process in the blob body, the body is not set. Not too shocking, Drew. Every now and then a YouTube channel gets through that puts some flagrantly bad things up. Well, the YouTube filters will prevent you from putting some elements in that are you probably don't want to disclose, or that might be a privacy concern for somebody, like phone numbers or emails, apparently. If you decide to try to circumvent those filters, go for it. Feel like that's one of those the consequences are on your head kind of thing. That's a lot of notifications there, Rune. I generally don't use the notify for a lot of channels I subscribe to for that reason. They're not useful. Okay, so why is body not being set? Have a placeholder for the blob body here so that I can more easily modify it. Process should not be happening yet. Let's do a quick test. Go into our game scene, go to our camera, we set this back at 1. Okay, they're not flipping over, though. We know that it has a mob body, but within the actual blob body script, the body is not being populated, which should be populated right here, which should be in this scene here. It should be the body object. Well, thank you. So this doesn't help, though, because... But... Oh... Okay, so one of the confusing elements here is that this is not set for the object. If I look at our spawner, it says, okay, we instantiate the mob body. Mob body exists. As soon as this happens, the body object should be getting set by the onReady. Oh, but it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. How about if we get to here? I did not hear about that in particular, Rune. I mean, I imagine that kind of thing happens. Is there a particularly notable thing about this head soda, intersection? Cute, cute. Okay. Mob bodies. There's one mob body being generated. That mob body does not have its body set, but the sprite and the raycasts are. Okay. Am I doing this part wrong? About this. Aha. Aha. Found it. Found it. Okay. So when I was trying to do, let me show it here. When I was trying to reference it by name, these are child nodes. So in this case, I had to say, this is you, so that it can be more easily referenced in code. Okay. Let's put this back. Hey there, TJ. Help us if we don't have that. We're making a game, TJ. And hey there, Daisy. It does take me some time to translate anything, Dana. I do have to switch focus. I have to get to a application to do it. I have to put the text in. So if you could say it without the translation, that would be appreciated. I generally only do that for things like names, if I can help it. Okay, so at the time that this exists, sprite does not get set. So no matter what, it gets triggered by this. Or it gets triggered by... the coding streams are still largely chat streams, folks, so don't feel like you can't chat. Go right ahead. I will try to get to any questions you ask, but I do get distracted by trying to do the code, so I might miss something and have to scroll back. Hey there, Annabelle, Dizzy. Okay, so the getter setter on modulate is causing a problem. So what we want to do is have some moment when it will modulate. Not playing it, trying to make it work. Okay, we're going to kill that getter setter for now. We are going to fail at that, and we are going to jump back and see what we broke. Go into my body, remove that. Out of that, release it. Okay. Okay, now we have to fix the mouse. Okay, so we're going to copy this name. Delete that one. rename this one just so. Then we need to go into projectile mouse, and we are going to new inherited scene. Like that. We're going to save it to projectiles, player projectiles, the mouse, and we're just going to call it body for now. Right there. We're moving through it. I figured out a flaw in the way that I was generating inherited scenes. You have to do it explicitly. You can't just declare it. Which is unfortunate, but, you know, it is what it is. Then we go into the basic mouse scene. We go in, we take you and you, copy that, go into the body scene, paste those in, zoom out, that's working. We've got that in place. Now we can name you, copy, delete, paste that in. Now we go into you and we say body is that. We're fixing the mouse projectile at the moment. So blobs should come running in. And we have a glitch. Sprite is null. The blob sprite is still coming in as null. Hey there, Bailey. Welcome. We are playing music, Bailey. Not unlike Demand or something like that. If you could, Fan, you've been spamming your number pretty regularly. We don't need that. Me. Should be playing, but it's misbehaving. We are having a little software hiccup here. Let's check on the kitties while I test this here. Oh, that'd do it. I think it's functioning now. Nope, nope. My audio system has gone haywire, so bear with me. Let's see. We do have goals, which I would need to translate that. Yeah, music has broken down. do do. And hitting some buttons. Just a moment, folks. There we go. This is a coding stream, technically. Epic. My sound has broken down. So, or at least the music sound has broken down. So I got to fix it. There is going to be a moment of audio not working. Brace for audio problems. Okay. I think we're back. Everything working again? Good. Sorry about that, folks. My mixer software just stopped. Like, very much stopped. Okay, well, back in we go. We have a zoom in on Mason here. Okay, why is the mouse body not working? Let's check here. Oh, I think I know. Shouldn't actually be a problem. Black and White, this is some game development. We are coding in Godot. So our blobs are working. We can slow them down again, really. Okay, there's our problem case once again. Sprite is not being set. Let's see here. Blessed, well, I mean, some people use Roblox as a coding platform, so, you know, maybe it's related for you. Okay, well, that's not working properly. I'm gonna have to manually lower this a little bit here. There we go. And Minty, we are coding a game. I don't know why this isn't working. I have another solution that I can try. So let's show the cats again for a moment here. And you. Oh. There we go. And then we're going to restart you. Okay, maybe work. Maybe work. Yeah, we're definitely having a software conflict here. Yeah, that's what's going on. Okay, so we're going to manually lower this at the moment. Okay. Having a lot of sound issues. Well, thanks for swinging through, Blessed. We want to be able to rotate, but at the time this happens, the sprite is null. Why is the sprite null? We go into blob body. Check. Oh, okay. We still need to do this. Because the process can happen once before it gets set. We can make it happen more often. Where are my templates? Music should just be really quiet. Oh, it's fixed. Should be a little louder now. Hey, it's working. Weird. Okay, the mice are immediately popping. And they're still able to explode here. Oh. Okay, so they are not rotating. That's not what they're supposed to do. Sprite has got to equal some. Oh. Doop-de-doo. Oops. Okay, we have a start. Then we need to go into our mouse projectile here, into the mouse's body. Player bullet, it only collides with enemies. Should be correct. We only generally, except for this morning, code during the stream. So I work on it maybe a couple of hours every, well, we're starting every day this week, but maybe it was every two or three times a week. So maybe, let's say 6 hours a week for a couple to a few months now. We're moving really slowly. Part of it is we're learning the Godot engine as we go. I suspect if I was already proficient in using this development engine, we'd be moving a lot faster. But there's a lot of nuance and optimization we're trying to do. Let's see, being conservative, it would have been the beginning of March. Hey there, Salts. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the broadcast. Okay, so we are still getting... This is in projectile mouse body, so that should work. Oh, it's working now. Working now. And... Ooh, okay. Hey there, Zol. Welcome. Wait, see that icon. Can I zoom these a little? Trying to catch up with chat here. Classy, Ree. Classy. That is a high school and earlier joke. Yes, indeed. What's that icon? I should be able to see it, right? Interesting. Songs. Math. Oh, okay. Well, sorry there, Zell. I just noticed you were over on the Twitch side. I had to look at the far chat. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so we've got these working again. Now we need to get the rotation working. So let's go into the blobs. Let's make them slower. Right now, they're moving as fast as the player is. Let's slow them way down. We'll keep the homing mouse going just to be sure. Check in on our blob script here. player home to target, avoid monster. Okay. Okay, here's our first blob coming in. Okay, raycasts aren't colliding. So we're going to experiment with this further by going into our blob spawner and making it so that there's a whole lot of them. Okay, we're making a bullet heaven game. What I'm trying to do right now is change the blob's logic so that they don't actually collide with each other. It is weird that it's not working right now. Thank you, Zell. This is a Nyanite. They originate from one of my early game mods back in the Noita days. Okay, now we go into our blobs. Look at their properties. Currently, they live on the enemy layer. We're going to make it so that they don't actually collide with anything except the player. Hey there, Mafioso. Welcome back to the broadcast. Good to see you again. Mob body scene. We look at our raycasts. Their collision mask only looks for walls, but let's go mobs as well. Okay, well, this is not what I want. But I guess it's a little better. Well, once it actually starts working, I think we might be able to start doing that kind of thing. We're still a ways away from distribution and publishing considerations. Okay, the collision shapes for the mice are off a little bit. I'm not seeing the raycasts off of the blobs. Okay, I think I know what's probably going on with the mouse body. Yeah, the sprite is off-center, that's why. We look at its logic. We're going to change you to be a box, I think. It's still not ideal, actually. Yeah, probably about like that. Okay, their collision box is relatively fixed now. We're not getting the ray casts in there, and we're... Okay, Minty, well, thanks for joining us. Okay. We're still getting huge bogged down. Let's... Bugger, profiler. Okay, we are going to rid of you and... Oh. Okay, we're going to look at script functions while this is running. Hey there, Crystal. Welcome, welcome. Okay, well, let's expedite this whole test here. Really ramp up the scenario here. Let's do... Technically, it's 11 of 6, but, you know. Huh. Well, that's an interesting effect there. What app are you posting them into? Get our profiler. Okay. We are... We're working on some debugging here. That should be going at 360 degrees. Okay, let's... Groups. Fine. Okay, it's not supposed to just arc like that. It should be able to spread at 360. Now something about the movement isn't working because it's always... Oh, there, now we go. It's odd. Oh. I think I know what part of that problem is, but... Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Okay. There's still some stuff breaking down. We can see some of the projectiles being popped out of existence before they should be. So, Fan and Dana, that's generally not the kind of topic space that we're working with on this channel. So, while it is important to you right now, if there's another forum that you can take it to, I would suggest you do so. I have definitely broken something else. I think we can do this without the blobs being so numerous, so... Okay, it didn't save that. Seems like there's some extra collision going on, like... These shouldn't be popping right here. Strange. Okay. So it's not really the projectiles that we're worried about. These do not seem to be causing a problem. It's entirely the blobs and how they're colliding. I will ask you both kind of calm it down a little bit. And all the classy today. All the classy today. How long have I been working in Godot, Zell? Like I mentioned, it was like every a few times a week, maybe 3 hours each time. So going on maybe 100 hours at like minimum productivity. All right, we're gonna just gonna ask you guys to cool off for a little bit here. Just a little bit of chill out. Okay, so I have managed to break many things. This is unfortunate. So part of the inheritance structure isn't working properly. Hey there, Tess. I mean, 1 step forward, 2 steps back at this rate. It's a lot of errors. Okay, here's our problem as far as collision detection. It's not going to work if that doesn't populate. And that is necessary for the blob logic to work. So in mob body, raycast exists. And in blob body, raycast exists. And in mouse body, raycast doesn't exist. But why? Okay. We're going to get our mob body again. We're going to create a new inherited scene. Save that scene. Scenes is source, projectile, player projectile, mouse, body. Look at body scene. You and you. Paste you here. Copy you. Delete you. Paste you. And it's gone. One more time. One more time. It'll work this time. Okay. Okay, as soon as I rename it back to what it originally was, it reverts it, which is strange. Godot engine is not exactly flawless. Temporarily. Doesn't care about walls. It is in the layer bullet layer, and it cares about hitting an enemy. So I'm doing raycast to try to dodge the overabundance of collision logic that's going on, Zell. The number of enemies I need on the screen and the fact that they're going to be tightly packed was resulting in a huge amount of physics processing during movement. To the extent that I was getting down to like 5 frames a second on a regular basis once there were 100 or so things in existence. And that's way too few things. We need to be able to have all of that with a very smooth frame rate, and we're not getting that. Based on my current testing, I feel like raycasts are still not gonna do it. Hey. Okay, they have their raycast now. Right, they're not supposed to be doing it that way, but getting there. It's all right, Dana. It was an opportunity for you both to cool down a little bit. Van didn't need to be doing that, and you didn't need to be feeding the fire. Exactly, Zell. Exactly, Zell. It is. It's those wonderful moments like, wait, why do that? Okay, we're not getting that air anymore, but the blobs don't have the raycast on them, which is weird. Yeah, they exist. They exist. If we look at our template, for the bullet spawner here, okay, so that part shouldn't be happening. Sprite and body, so it should be getting that. We look at our rotation for the mouse body. Rotation is never happening. Like now it's happening sometimes. And the raycast and the blob still aren't showing up. Mod is a long-term kind of viewer scenario, Dana. Somebody that I've known for years at this point, since none of my mods are what amounts to professional mods or like the equivalent, then it's people that I definitely trust. All right, Dana. Thanks for swinging through. Okay, they're generally not working still, but you can see the blobs gathering up. So you can see on the projectiles those little arrows going red. That's what we want the blobs to have, and those arrows should be rotating around based on their actual facing. When one of those arrows go red, it's supposed to steer away from it. Now, it doesn't matter on the mice. But again, it's very weird that it's not showing up on the blobs. Because it's there. It is distinctly present. These little arrow dealies. I think that's part of the problem, though. Look at our move logic. It should be times the speed, or at least it should be the resultant velocity. Let's look at our avoid monsters logic here. So, body speed should be... Okay, fractions of a second. That's okay, though. We might be able to do this less frequently. And overall, I think we should. Make sure it's limited. Well, Drew, it's not really a matter of not being on the streams. At least one of my mods is here very infrequently. But when they are here, they can act as a mod. Like I mentioned, this is not a dedicated, nigh professional mod kind of scenario where that person is there almost all the time. I'm keeping an eye out. I did not notice the pun, but it was a good one. So, but I think the raycast is not... Let's add some debug script in here. I can type. No, I hate it when IDEs are trying to be helpful and they end up being not helpful. It won't let me do a close paran because it looks at it and says, "Oh, you must be closing print debug," despite the fact that print debug was already being closed. So I will just remove that paran that you just typed for you so you don't make a mistake. Despite the fact that it has post-processing for error checking. In a minute. Okay. What's my output? Okay, raycast length is very, very small, so it's never really encountering it. Because we're only moving a short distance. We need to multiply the speed out. So let's look at divided by delta. Hey there, noob. Welcome to the stream. They're still not rotating like they're supposed to. Okay, the blobs don't have vectors at all. Or they're completely concealed. But they should be visible if they're inside there. And I'm not seeing the vectors on the mice change size. So I think... the logic where we change the length of the raycast is not quite right. Welcome to the broadcast, Abdullah. Is it Abdullah? There's no H in there, but that's not necessarily a determinant. Why aren't the raycasts appearing? Because they exist. They definitely exist. And we're iterating over them, but they're not appearing in the blobs, which to me implies that they are being shortened down greatly. So, times 1,000. Okay, so the length of the vector is what we were messing up. Okay, now for more science. Don't need you. I'll have to fix the mouse body physics there. Okay, they are kind of doing what I want them to do. Because you see how they're kind of staying away from each other. There is definitely some overlap. They can bump into each other. I'll need to have I mean, I might have another bubble around them. But this should generally work. The problem being that they don't actually have a raycast to their sides to avoid them overlapping left to right. But I think this is okay. All right, stress test time. We're going to slow the blobs down even further so I can avoid them. But we want them to move. And we're going to make many, many, many of them. They're spawning at a... They're spawning 30 at a time. The bullets are supposed to rotate. They're supposed to kill the blobs when they hit them. All right, we're still having the problem. We are still definitely having the performance problem. Those are those moments, Drew. Like earlier, I ran into a problem where I had refactored everything so that it would find the inherited entity properly, but ended up instead, because I had not renamed a node, it ran into problems there. Okay. So what we're probably facing going forward is that we need to completely reconsider how we are doing well, let's do another quick test just to be sure. Let's remove visible collision shapes. Because that is extra overhead. So, yeah. If anything, it's actually worse. Sigh. Okay, so the ray trace, or the raycast method, just replaced one collision problem with another. So anything with the built-in physics is going to run into problems. We need to have another way of handling it. So instead of having every single collision check be its own individual thing, we need to look at getting the collision checks en masse. So what we're probably going to have to do, welcome back, fan. What we're probably going to have to do can we use static for something that we're moving programmatically? Welcome, Flynn. Plenty of folks in short format there, fan. Okay, so if that's the case, then I should be able to look at this, and it should be... Right, yeah, that broke all of the linkages. Oh, no, that one worked. Which... Oh, no, wait. Okay, it worked. It worked. It worked. At this point, I'm not terribly worried about doing this change because Dana is as well. You both had the same timeout. Since we're dealing with potentially catastrophic. Why can you not? Mob body is a static body 2D. Oh. Oh, we got to change a lot of stuff. So all the movement types need to have... Make sure this is updated on all of them. Mob body, mob body. That's where our problem is coming in then. Okay, so this is where static body will run into a problem. We need to do mob body. Mob body then needs a vector 2 velocity. We're at that wonderful stage in coding where the pattern that we're following is wildly rip out wires. It's a vector 2, vector 2, which is already true, but we're being explicit about it. Okay, now they are static bodies. Same issue. I do not fan, just the one. You can't really tell, but there's nothing. It's if you look carefully when the hair swings, you can't see anything on the inner sides of the head. No, the outer edges of the head. Ears are up there at the top. Different skull configuration. Okay. So what we could look at doing is have every entity's collision tracked. Live 2D is black magic. I really respect the skill of the people that do rigging like this. You haven't seen it before, Zell. I don't recall you seeing it before, so. Look at the interior. No. So, a couple of folks have mentioned that before, Fan. The black is like a casing over the white. Yeah, Live 2D is a people doing Live 2D are effectively doing 3D modeling with extra constraints. Dude. All right. Faster on the trigger than me, Tess. That's right, Zell. So a character body 2D is meant to be controlled by the code, like I'm doing. You give them a collision. You give them a collision object, and they report the collision detection. So what we're potentially looking at to get around this, and I have seen some articles and demonstration on this, so I might have to do more research, is to remove the individualized handling of the collision logic and instead move rendering and, well, initially we'd just move collision out to like physics server level and say, hey, we're going to give you this battery of objects to treat as one mass, you know? And handle them accordingly. There'd be a lot of hoops to jump through to get here, though, or to get to that place. So we'll noodle on this a little bit further in just a moment. Have to take a break. If you like what you saw and would like to see more, remember to like, follow, subscribe, all that sort of goodness. It will help algorithms serve this stream up to you more in the future, hopefully. If you're curious, we do stream to three different streams at once during this. There is the widescreen on YouTube and Twitch, and a tall format on YouTube as well, more phone oriented. So watch where you like. If you're seeing me talk to people that you can't see in chat, that's why. But again, be right back. Gotta top up the drink and what have you. Settling back in. Okay. So I think we need to start removing individualized handling of things. Next easiest thing to remove, I think, is removing individualized rendering. So I only want one instance of the sprite. So one of the things that we could do is create a cache of art assets and just use the one. Pass it by reference around between the objects so there's just the one animated sprite. But that runs into the problem of flipping them. Tricky. I don't know that we could individually control the mirroring in that case. No, we'd have to handle the drawing by ourselves. Essentially, the draw call. Let's... Sammy is coming to join me while I think. Yeah, we're looking at seeing a completely different form of rendering because we want to remove that individualized handling. So that they all render the same thing, that it is not this one sprite renders, this one sprite renders. There's supposed to be a good way to group them, but I'm technically already doing that. All of the bodies of the sprites, like their node structure is under the same parent, and they're at the same layer. So they should all be getting rendered in one big batch. But I wonder if them being animated sprites is part of what's getting us here. I mean, they're all doing the same animation at the same time, so that... Yeah, we should still be okay. I don't think it's the rendering. I think it's the collision, and I think that'll hold out if we... We're short-circuiting a whole lot of stuff. At this point, I don't think we're really worried about that. Player never gets hurt. Okay, so we go in. We're going to go in. We're going to go into our debugger. We'll go into the profiler. Start profiling. We have our physics 2D and script functions. Yeah. Okay, it's our physics. It's our physics logic. If you look, movement dot physics process. So that's where movement happens. Each entity has a movement object, and the movement object tells them how to move. Well, that's where all the processing is happening. Look at that. Look at that. A quarter second and climbing. And this really is like the Noida days, isn't it, folks? Yeah, we can see them kind of looping around a little bit, trying to avoid bouncing into each other. That's okay. I think this sort of movement logic is kind of where we want to go. But it's the processing cost. Yeah, half second. 2 frames a second. Yeah, no. Oh, sorry. You couldn't see that. So this was the script function time. While we were running it, once we got probably a couple hundred blobs on the screen, the cost to do movement physics, like the basic script handler for each individual to do its movement, we were spending half a second for our physics update on that. And that's bad. Just a little. That's bad. So we need to improve. But how we do? How we do? I wonder if we take a physics shape and we give that to the physics server and say, well, we've created it. We've created it as part of our node hierarchy. But can we handle that physics? Instead of doing move and collide, can we handle all of the relevant physics elsewhere? Okay, let's do another test. Because again, we are very firmly at the stage where we're facing a total refactor of some of our rendering and movement. So we're just gonna This won't do anything, right? Yeah. Mob bodies don't have move and slide. Okay. Position. Plus equals body to move dot velocity. There's one in the box. Sherbet is sitting in there. Okay, we're getting some jitter. We're still getting a lot of misbehavior here. Too much collision. Still too much collision. Profiler, start. He ran for it. Let's find a cat. There's Ember and Sky. Camera one is flaky, but it's a safe bet. If I had to guess, Sherbet is watching something in the window. Okay, the build-up is slower. If we move to just changing the position, the build-up is slower. But we're still running into the problem that the physics handling is the bottleneck. Sky is the only one that Ember will tolerate that from. And Ember is the only one that will tolerate Sky trying to be a bully. Ember will flee and try to, like, lightly bap him on the nose if he's a bully to her too much. Sammy will come out swinging pretty fast. Okay. Okay. Don't think we necessarily need to go this far. This is like getting down deep into the guts of it. But we don't want it calculating the collisions as much. And we don't want it to do a full iteration kind of collision check. Winter. We do a move and collide yet. Well, we can't do a move and collide at the moment. And we're still doing excess checks with the blobs. All right, let's go into the blobs. And we're going to remove... We're going to remove avoid movement from them. So we're not... The raycasts are still firing, but they're not... We're not doing logic on them. We don't even want them firing. It's mob body. Not enabled. Okay, so collisions are still going to be happening, but we're no longer doing the ray cast. So we should be getting, well, one, clumps of blobs, but also substantially fewer collisions happening. Okay, as soon as the blobs start to overlap the player, it's the collision logic that's happening that's causing the issue. As soon as we have actual collisions happening, it's going bonkers. So we need to consolidate collision detection. We need a way to go in and say, like, okay, across the board for the entire, like, map, where are the collisions? And which ones do we care about? Because if the player can't see them, we don't care. Well, within limits, you know. But monster to monster collisions matter less until they try to enter player view. That's right, Chrono. We need more slimes. Okay. Welcome to the broadcast, Cassio. We're doing some coding, and we're desperately hoping to not have to do a ground-up physics restructure. But I think we're looking at a ground-up physics restructure. We're still going to need some sort of equivalent flocking logic. But if we can consolidate all of that, they're like a built-in octal tree. Really a quad tree that we're looking for. Nope. And we don't want a control tree. That's completely different. So let's see. All of these collision objects we want to handle at the same time. We don't need the raycasts anymore. They cannot help us. I mean, in theory, we may still want to use them, but I think we need, like, a repulsing bubble around them. It's not ideal, but it should be simpler to deal with. So we'd have a series of bubbles around everything. And each collision check doesn't need to happen individually. Hey there, Ara. Welcome to the broadcast. We are working on our game, and as I was just mentioning, we are in a stage where we've pretty much broken everything in an effort to fix things, because the next step is rewriting some fundamental handling. So everything seems to be doing well here. But if I walk into this pack of blobs here, such that, yeah, see how it's starting to slow down and get twitchy. The more blobs that stack on top of me. There are too many collisions happening. And thus too much handling thereof. We need a way to mitigate that. Without preventing all of the other handling. So I wonder if there's a way that we can manually call the collision. So let's look at as a collision shape 2D. $$ collision shape 2D. So we're grabbing that shape in the least maintainable way possible. Shape. So we don't care. Okay, so it's not the shape that does it. I think it's the body that has this. So collision happened. Wonder if we could use them as areas instead of static bodies. Let's try it. Two of my cats are on camera snoozing. One of them is behind my headrest, demanding attention, which he is getting. Not 100% sure where the other two are right now. Let's do a quick check. Can't see them. Since they're not visible on the bed, they might be under the bed. They could be peeking through the curtain from the right-hand side. Let me zoom in on the window camera. If you're in the tall format, you won't be able to see a difference here. Okay. No, those are the only two that are visible. If we make the mob body scene an area 2D instead. Hey there, Davis. Welcome to the broadcast. Entering or exiting. Okay. Okay. We can use the raycasts to try to manipulate that, but not for now. Not for now. So it's an area 2D. We're going to run this and see what breaks. E. We are working on our game. You can see the preliminaries of it right here, Davis. At the moment, what we're doing is efficiency. We've explored some of the core mechanics that we want to have in the game, but right now the physics processing is taking up so much that we can't have the things on the screen that we want. We're starting to slow down. This is still bad. Debugger, profiler, start. Script functions. Okay, it's bad much more slowly, though. Still pretty bad. Exactly, Davis. Survivors type game. Had a lot of blobs. So we need to... Oof. We are gonna have to do physics different. Gonna have to do physics different. So, Zell, while you were away, we were working on doing another test here. Sadly, I think we are faced with needing a different collision model. The built-in one is not... Let's put it another way. We don't care that each object collides by itself. We care more about just getting the collisions and deciding what to do with them. So if we could do them all at once and get the mass of collisions and then process them, then we could, I think, work smarter with it. Instead of going through and saying every physics processing frame. That is a possibility, Zell, but here, let me show you what's going on here. So we go back over here and we do remote, core, game, monster pool. Okay. All of these are monsters. You know what? That's movement. Low, just 0. Delta. If delta greater than 2, then No, that's 2 seconds. 2 seconds divided by 60. Physics is happening. Profiler. Same time. Spent in physics. Time spent in scripting functions. Okay, still bogging down. Again, slower, but it's still accumulating. If the blobs were still reacting according to their vectors, I think we would get this sooner. Let's find out. Got that. Let's go to our spawner for blobs. Move avoid monster. Oh, yeah. Enable them. It would take longer, but we can't guarantee that they're going to get culled at a sufficient pace. Let's see. Probably about 90 of them. 20... 210 at about 210 blobs, plus or minus. Sorry, Lulu, doesn't actually ring a bell. No worries, Davis. We're all learning together. I do forget names frequently there, Lulu. Okay, so reduced physics processing is still good. Reduced movement processing, still good. So right now, Davis, the blobs don't collide with each other. So if I turn this back off, so there is currently nothing in the blobs that makes them bump into each other at all. They don't acknowledge their collisions. But once the player touches them, collisions start happening. And while I can mitigate that and maybe make them bounce off, that means the collision still happens. Right now they don't bounce off because we're not doing... No, our movement function is still just causing problems. This just changes its position. How is that taking so long? All right, since the homing mouse is not necessary right now. What if we batched it? Yeah. Where instead of having each movement do it, we go through and we iterate over all of them within the master node. I think we could do that. That could work. Hypothetically. Come on, kitty cat camera. Let's try to provoke it here. Camera 1 being camera 1. How we do? Okay, so let's say we do nothing in physics process of this. Instead, we go into our main game scene, and we're going to call this a mob. I think node will still work. Which is a mob body dot movement. Oh. Move. Movement. Look at movement and see S. Okay, so now they're all moving together. Everything in the mob pool is moving together. One big mass of movement calls. Okay, still getting bogged down. This is kind of the start of where we're going, though, is now we have a pool object that is saying, I'll handle all of the movement calls for you. So we've already come this far. Clean this up. Physics processing, like limiting the number of physics calls, will buy us time. But still, that's not... Once the player starts firing shots everywhere, it exaggerates, or it's going to exacerbate the problem. So that won't be enough to solve the issue. But what can we do instead? Not sure. So I think, again, we want the collision check to be kind of a mass collision check. Like, we want it all to happen. And then we want to go through and say, we'll handle the collisions. Either we'll ignore them or we'll do something different with them. Whatever. Iterate twice. Not sure. I'm not sure here. Again, we could go through and have it so that when we create a mob, we register the shape differently. That mob will create a physics object for itself. Like, it will create it as far as the server is concerned, hand it to the physics server and say, okay, you hold on to this. And then the physics server could then be used, like here, to do the check. Delta times 0.5 would just slow down movement in general. With physics processing, we can arbitrarily slow it down by, like we just did. Is we could say delta has to reach a particular amount before we'll change it. Because we can programmatically create the collision stuff. I'd like to avoid having to do that each time. And this is all supposed to be happening, but is there a way... Is there a way to make it so that they all, like, they're all an entity, you know? The two things I want to have is that the blobs should not perfectly overlap. There should be, like, ideally the sprites are just touching or overlapping a little bit. Constants, shapes. I think we're approaching more research time. Oh, dear. So, physics server 2D is what's happening in the background when we create a physics object. Like, the player object, since it has a physics body on it, a character body 2D, there's a bunch of stuff that this overall node type has already built into it to call into the physics server. But we need... We need a way to make it more efficient. I think this is the start of where we need to be. What's another thing we could do? As, like, short-term testing. About... Okay, sprite is not visible. Zero frames per second. Just to be sure. The blobs are invisible right now. This should not be the problem. Yeah. It is definitely physics process. That makes sense. That lines up with what we've been looking at. Animation is fine. Animation is fine. We need to clean up the logic for detecting whether things get hit or not. What if they just have a node and they carry a collision shape with them? because then it's not processing it. Then we could have each collision shape involved in a check, maybe? Or a check? Checks. These are all used in checks. That's... Ugh. And shape index when you're removing from there? Okay. So what we're going to have to do for next time, ideally I can get this prepped for tomorrow, is I've got to look at some different ways to do the collision. Because that's where we're sitting right now, is our existing collision detection logic bogs the system down during movement. Okay, one more check. One more check. One more check before we stop for the day. They don't move. Blobs do not move. Test all the things. Frame time, script function time. Yep. They're steadily increasing. Steadily increasing. And the frames, they be slowing. The blobs are probably all over me right now. Yeah. We had a slow increase, now a spike as all the blobs are starting to congregate on top. Okay, okay. We're going to call it there for now, folks. I think it exploded. All right, we need... To continue with this, we need a completely new mechanism for tracking this. We need to make sure that we are getting exactly what we... Well, only what we need out of it. We need to make sure that the collisions all happen as efficiently as possible without having to rely on individual checks like every frame, everything does it itself. So right now, even with the mob pool, each individual mob is moving, which means it collides with stuff. And we do that processing. Then the next mob moves. It collides with stuff. More processing. We could move this out of physics. Okay, well, tell a lie. One more check. One more check. What if it's not in physics? Hey there, Nugget. We're doing a final check. One last check. Cam 1's gonna behave for once, I hope. Debugger, profiler, go. A script functions are still climbing. Frame time is holding steady. Frame time is bursting up. Physics processing is still steadily climbing. More creatures, more processing. Yep. Frame time is going up as physics is costing more. We need a fundamental change. We need a fundamental change. Which means more research, which will probably happen tomorrow morning. We are going to need to look at... We'll look more closely at it. We're going to look at alternatives to the individual physics handling. I have seen some discussion, some demonstrations on how you might do it for things like bullet hell games. So hundreds of projectiles on the screen, like over 500 projectiles on the screen being animated, colliding with the player potentially, but not causing that sort of frame rate loss, like next to no frame rate change. That's what we're looking at, or that's our target. So we'll see if we can get there. But thank you again, everybody, for joining us. I hope you all had a good time. Sorry for it being so unproductive towards the end. But, you know, such is programming. There are going to be days where your keyboard is at risk for head-related damage. Starting next time, we're going to be spending a lot of times ripping up planks. And, you know, reconsidering how stuff needs to work fundamentally. But yeah, tomorrow morning, I think we're going to do For Your Tranquility. Well, not morning. Tomorrow at about noon U.S. Central. We're probably going to do For Your Tranquility. We'll try to solve some more frog crime. See if we can actually get the solution. And then we'll continue programming. And Sunday is probably going to be Apollo Justice for the game. We'll see. I'm doing the games kind of ad hoc right now. Part of the advantage of it is a hard incentive for me to get my sleep in order. But yeah, again, hope everybody had a good time. And well, yes, barbed wire, probably a good excuse. I've heard good things about that. But yes, right here at the end, we're wrapping up a little bit early. But we'll pick it up tomorrow. All right. Have a good night, everyone.